Good afternoon, the world. Welcome to Olga's show where you can learn lots of motivational inspiration and true stories, true examples of how you can level up your life. Today it's all about self-love, and today I have amazing and fabulous Diana Grant in the studio, who is a sacred self-love coach, author, and a speaker. She is the one who is the goddess of this biggest movement of self-love. She wants to transform millions and billions of people's lives through self-love. And you are one of them who is joining the tribe today. Diana, my darling, my dear friend, and my dear colleague of this coaching world, thank you so much for coming to my show and welcome to this Sacred Self-Love episode today.
Hello, Olga, and hello, everybody who's watching. Thank you so much, Olga, for having me here. It's always good to chat with you, and I love our conversations about self-love. So let's do this.
Absolutely. I think the world is speaking so much about self-love. You hear about self-love left, right, and center. And yet, how many people actually are practicing self-love? I think that's a good question. So I think, Diana, today will be really good to actually open people's eyes on what is that exactly? Sacred self-love. So the show is yours. Please tell us, what is that, in your opinion, that sacred self-love, and why do we have to practice that?
Great. Oh, thanks, Olga. And you've introed it so well because, as you say, everybody's talking about self-love. Self-love has become such a buzzword. When I first started working with self-love as a concept, it was quite new. There was our wonderful, great Louise Hay, who came before all of us in the self-love world, and yet it was still quite foreign. Whereas now, you read about self-love everywhere, you hear about it online all the time. It's just all around us. And yet, as you say, how many people are really practicing self-love, and what does it really mean? So for me, that has been such a long journey of discovery, self-discovery, and I'm convinced it will continue until my last breath in this life. And I say that all the time because I really think that true self-love and getting to know your true inner self, or as I call it, the sacred self, the part of us that is connected with divinity and with everything that is, that is why we're here. That is what life is about. And once we can truly know that and love that, then that's when life takes on real meaning. And so what I mean with sacred self-love is, I mean doing the work, not just talking about it, not just self-care. Self-care is so important. And yes, I promote self-care in a big way. It's huge. That's kind of like just the starting point. That's the tip of the iceberg. Self-love is so much more than that. And that's why I've come up with the term sacred self-love, because it really is a sacred journey inwards and to the root of everything, to the source of who we are on the inside.
I love that. I love that beautiful term of sacred self-love. And I think it's really important for every person on earth to actually find out more about that. I can see we have a couple of hellos here from Howard on the YouTube, and also Benit says, hello, ladies. So good to see you as always. That's
Hi.
says hello on LinkedIn. So it's good to see you guys joining us. Please do share where are you joining us from. We would love to make sure that this message gets across the world. As you all know, love is something what heals hurt. It heals pain. It heals whatever you have in your heart in terms of darkness. So when we talk about self-love, that means you can heal yourself from through that self-love. And if you just share with somebody this video, more people will be able to heal themselves, meaning that will lead to more healed people around you. I can see you smile there. Would you like to add something, Diana?
Absolutely, Olga. Thanks. yeah, that's more what self-love is about. It's about the healing, the deep healing. So for me, sacred self-love is getting to know yourself, and you mentioned healing. So on the emotional side, so getting to know the emotions, getting to know the mind and the thoughts and how it works, and getting to know our physical body, and then getting all of that, get into a space of moving together in the same direction in the energy of love and healing and growth. So yes, thank you everybody for joining us, and do share this message.
Absolutely, absolutely. But I wonder, Diana, what would be the tips you could give to people about how they can practice the self-love? What they can start doing. It's such a big topic, and there's so many things we can do on a daily basis. But what would the easiest way to start practicing self-love?
Great question. I always say the easiest way to start is to get to know yourself. And that might sound so obvious. People might think, well, I've been me for 48 years. Of course, I know myself. But I challenge you to get to know yourself deeper on every level. And that entails giving yourself time. So, just as we give time to any other relationship, like when we fall in love or when we make a new friend or we start a new job, so we've got new colleagues, we give time to those people because we value them in our life. How much time do you give to yourself? And acknowledging what you've been feeling during the day, what you've been thinking, where those thoughts come from, how your body's worked for you. So that's for me is the first step, is really get to know yourself. And so give yourself time, even if it is just half an hour or 1 hour a day, to get quiet and spend time with yourself. And Olga, we're both on this mission. We're always sharing about meditation and doing journal work, and then doing work like we do with our clients and with our coaches is work where somebody else can mirror you as well.
Mhm.
So, but the easiest and first step is make time for yourself, where it's just you with you, really digging deep and getting to know yourself.
Wow, Diana, that speaks so much to me. And it's so interesting. Yesterday, I had a conversation with a fellow speaker from our PSA organization as well. It was just a one-to-one, just a catch up, like after event. And what interesting, this person said, Olga, right now, I feel like just taking time for myself, but I feel so guilty. I feel so guilty because I feel like I must be productive. I must to bring money in. I need to, bring the bread up to the table. He's a male, right? And that's very masculine energy, right? To be constantly busy, to be a doer, right? To be in the action all the time. And we had discussion about exactly this topic, that actually this is the greatest gift you can give to yourself. Yes, it might feel like you slowed down. It might feel not comfortable. It might feel you should have, you must, you're obliged. But same time, when we give the time to ourselves, the magic happens. The pure magic happens because we gave ourselves that sacred time. So you,
Absolutely.
right?
That is so powerful. Absolutely. And I absolutely hear what you're saying. When it comes to most of us these days, but especially men, they do have a lot more of that driver energy, that, provider energy going. But all of us, we're so caught in that constant cycle of doing and producing. So this production cycle where we have to be productive, we have to be making something, doing something in order to bring home the bacon, as they say. Um, but slowing down and quietening down, as you said, brings so much power. It's in those moments where we spend, and it can just be moments where we truly connect with that sacred part of ourselves, that we get absolute inspiration. I call them divine downloads, because it just literally feels like inspiration comes down from somewhere much higher than me, and I have an idea, and if I follow that idea, it always pays off. Whereas often following my to-do list doesn't pay off, and I'll end up being really tired at the end of a really busy day, and it might look productive, but I haven't necessarily produced anything of value. So yeah.
Oh my God, right now you just triggered something really important in probably majority of population. The to-do list, right? That to-do list, which is all coming from your head. Piece of
Yes.
paper and a pen, and you make to-do list, right? What you should do, must do, which means complete disconnection with your heart, with your alignment, with your purpose and yourself. And when we feel what feels good to do, that's when you do actually more self-love and more self-care. We have actually a comment here from Vinit, and Vinit, he's one of our regulars. I love when Vinit is showing up. Why do some millennials confuse self-love with excessive indulgence in Instagram and TikTok? Such a good question.
Wow, that is a very, very good question. Thank you for it. And I just want to start with saying, when I say things like I endorse selfishness, I don't mean self-centeredness. I don't mean self-love at the expense of anyone else. Because for me, and I think this is possibly to answer your question, where the millennials, as you mentioned them, are out there on social media, you know, sort of talking about self-love and saying labeling things as self-love, where it's really just, as you say, self-indulgence. And I think that comes from what's missing is the true essence of what love is, and in balance of that, the true essence of what self is. And when I talk about self-love, as I've mentioned, I talk about that sacred aspect of who we are as being the self. And then I talk about love as a sacred energy, love being the energy that is kind, that is generous, that is about service. But when it comes to self love, it's balanced with the sacred inner being. And so that service is always coming from a filled up space. Olga, you and I often talk about the basket of apples. If you want to share apples with your friends, you need to have an apple for yourself. So you're filling yourself up, but it's coming from a sacred space, a space of service, so that the service cycle is then serving others and serving myself in a loving, kind, generous, full way. The label self-love, and this has been my challenge, and this is why I've taken this sacred label and added it, and I'm sticking to it, because it is different from what is being pushed out there on social media by a lot of young people, and they're beautiful, but there's a lot of self-indulgence there, and that's not what true self is at all. True self is a lot of service, a lot of generosity. It's just coming from a place of making sure that we're taking care of the essence of who we are in order to do that.
Very true, very true. I love that you address this issue about self-indulgence and social media. I must say it's very addictive. It is really addictive thing. So probably I'm not sure if they confuse self-love with excessive indulgence. I guess it will be probably more addiction, right? Because whenever you post something, right, it creates happy chemicals in your brain, happy emotions, happy face when somebody likes your post, when somebody comments on your post, right? When you share something and some people react on that, right? Or when you and your mates are sharing something between you two, you three, you five, right? So it creates this addition to these amazing moments when they spend so much time on Instagram and TikTok. And that is addiction. And very often also that could indicate about people running away. Just like
That is, yeah.
just like excessive sex with different partners all the time, just like drugs, just like smoking, just like excessive alcohol. That all is actually addiction, and that you is running away. So many
There's such a key word there, Olga, addiction. And
yeah,
I honestly believe that we come into this life, 90% of human beings, and we get addicted to something.
yeah,
So when I say we're all addicts, if we can recognize ourselves as addicts in this life, because in our physical lives, unfortunately, fortunately and unfortunately, our senses can work for us and they can work against us. And addiction is huge. And I think if every single one of us has to dig deep, there's some level of addiction somewhere. And if we can own that first and then move from there, so heal that part, because it's usually coming from something that occurred in childhood or even in past lives, depending on your belief system. I believe that we are energy and we're passing through different lives and we carry that with us. there can be some kind of injury, some kind of wound that needs healing that brings that addictive behavior. So, yes, I think you've hit the nail on the head with the younger people that are pushing self love in that very self indulgent way. There's a lot of addiction there. And that to recognize that will be the first step to then healing whatever it is that you're trying to heal with the addiction. Yes.
Very true. Very true. Yeah. It's amazing how our mind is really controlling us. Right? It's really controlling. It likes something once or twice, and then it just does everything for us to keep getting more of that. So whenever you see a millennial or even yourself self-indulging yourself to too much of social media or too much online shopping,
Mm.
or too much of food, too much of alcohol, or whatever it is. If you feel like something is too much, always ask yourself, what am I running away from?
Mm.
There's always something.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
I agree.
Very interesting. Wonderful. So, going back to that main topic of today's episode on self love, the sacred self love, what exactly made you to actually start doing this as your mission, as your purpose? Sacred self-love coach. It's such a unique, I must say, title, but at the same time, I'm sure there's a story behind it. And we want to know, what is the story behind that sacred self-love coach?
Thanks, Olga. There's definitely a story. There are a whole lot of stories. I've heard from people who know me well, and I can see where it comes from. So many times people have said to me, "How many lives have you lived?" Because, I'll come up with this story and that story, and I really do have a very, very colorful story. There's a lot of experiences and a lot of beautiful, colorful experiences in my past. And the key factor though in this life from a young age is that I looked around me and what I witnessed was people with beautiful hearts and with lots of love to give and giving that love and yet still somehow feeling unfulfilled and managing to hurt each other even though they were trying to love each other. So I saw relationships in conflict even though they were two good people trying to love each other. And I always had this question, this burning question, since from very young, that it's got to work. This love thing has to work. There has to be another way. Like something's missing. An example that I use is I would watch my grandmother, and bless her soul, I loved her dearly. I still do. And she she had a really, really troubled relationship with everyone in her life though, where she couldn't be happy, she couldn't show she would show kindness to some people and then be very cold with the next person. And I would see how that would affect my mom and her sister. Those are her two daughters. And it just used to pain my heart. And so I went on this mission from a young age, but I didn't quite know what it was. So I was trying all sorts of things and thinking, this must be it. But I realized that I was always looking for love, always looking for love. And of course, what do we do naturally? We look outside of ourselves. So I looked for love outside of myself. I fell in love with my daughter's father. He was my first love, my soulmate, and it was amazing. We had amazing years together. But our relationship became very strained over time. And a big part of that was the fact that I was trying to fill my cup through him, through our relationship. But this journey started, yeah. So, and I think so many of us do that. We look to our partner, or we look to our friends, or we look to our children, even our parents,
Yeah.
to fill us up when we should be doing it for ourselves. So this journey started, and it eventually resulted in me really starting to discover me and who I was and the journey of self love, whilst my marriage to my daughter's dad was unraveling. So that was just it's a beautiful, it has happy parts of it and sad parts of it, but a really beautiful story that I found myself through that journey. And shortly after we got divorced, I launched into this in a big way. Started writing my book, which then, as you know, took many years to
Yeah.
write, to finish. Um, but yes, so that was the key, was that I was looking for love always. I realized that's what everybody was looking for. while people were hurting each other and hurting themselves. And then I ended up doing it to myself. So I looked for it in my ex-husband. I looked for it in all my external relationships. And eventually I kept coming back to the only place where it really exists and where it has to start is within. So that's my story in a nutshell.
Wow. But you know what you showed with this short story or short version of your story is that you walk your talk. You
Mm.
took the time to learn about yourself. You took the time to discover yourself. You took the time to go inwards and seek love down there, rather chase and request and demand that love from other people surrounding you, direct family, your daughter and other people. And I think this is the best thing what we can do, actually, just to go inwards, to start seeking that inside. Just like you referred to those apples, if you don't have an apple, how can you give an apple to somebody else? You got to have it first. Well, I must say, people who work with you, Diana, are very lucky because you clearly walk your talk. And what's interesting, and I think it will be quite important to share this with those who are watching us right now, that our idea of doing these self-love sessions on a monthly basis, well, was that already a long time ago. And I think we've done something like one, and then time delayed, and then something happened, and another time we were going to go live, and then it just didn't happen. Because I remember my internet just would refuse to work. It would just absolutely refuse to allow me to log in, so we couldn't do the session. And then one thing after another, and it just was not happening. But what was the most interesting thing is that during these last few months, we both were on such a unique, profound, and deep journeys.
Yeah.
Right. And as a result, when we literally spoke about doing this a few weeks ago, everything aligned so easily, so effortlessly, without trouble, without any problems. And that is usually the best sign, the best answer from the universe you can get, when the timing is aligned. And that means you are doing the right thing. But partially, what we were doing in the meantime, that was working on ourselves.
Yes, absolutely, Olga. And didn't we go a lot deeper than we had been before?
Oh, yes. Oh,
Which
yes.
is absolutely, it's self-love. So yes, we both did a deeper dive into sacred self-love. And as you say, everything aligned because we had your internet, we had my internet, we had all sorts of internet. No, 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 for how many months? And then suddenly, yes, here you go. Now's the time. So that is, you're so correct. And this is something that would be a great takeaway for everyone that's listening, is life does show us when we're on the right track and when we're aligned. So and it does sound a little bit fatalistic. So by all means, if things are going wrong in your life, don't beat yourself up. But it is a cue when everything seems to be stopping you. It is a cue to pause, go within, spend some time again getting to know yourself on a deeper level. And like I said earlier, I've known myself for 48 years and still I discover deeper levels every time I do more of a deep dive. Every day, in fact. So um, when when there are lots of roadblocks, just pause, stop, take that opportunity to check in with yourself and to ask some tough questions. Because back to the question about self-indulgence earlier, I always say that self-love is self-discipline,
Yes.
and not self-discipline in a wicked, evil, whipping you way. It's in a way of knowing yourself, knowing what works best, and sticking to that, committing. So it's a commitment to your best. And so when things are going against you and life is just not working, pause and see, where do I need to adjust? Where do I need to heal? What needs to shift? And the question doesn't always come straight away. I mean, the answer doesn't always come straight away. It can take some time. It can take some digging. Because as you said earlier, Olga, our minds are also very clever, and our minds are in there. And it's like if we've been operating this way for 20 years, then the mind certainly doesn't want to change that because that's just scary. So yeah, it will take quiet time, connection time, and asking some tough questions.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because it's almost like when you go on a date with somebody new,
Mm.
how do you fall in love with them? Do you really see the person and you feel like, I'm in love with this person the first second I see them? No. You might have attraction, you might have chemistry, but can you say, I love you when the first second you just saw them? No.
No.
That loving process, that falling in love process happens through getting to know them. Again, you might have strong chemistry, strong desire to be with them, but not love. This is not love, this is attraction, right? So this
Exactly.
you get to know more about them and you get to know more about their values and their beliefs and their life experience and what they stand for, what they're like you or not like you, whatever, you start falling in love with them. And the more
Yeah.
you know them, the more you fall in love with them.
Mhm.
Same process is for you folks. It's not different. The same for you. And you sit one to one across the table, maybe next to each other, and you have a conversation. You ask questions, and this is how you get to know them. Okay? So, what Diana says, learn about yourself, ask yourself questions. And I actually always invite couples to play this game. Ask a question which you wouldn't like to be asked.
Yes. Yes.
But answer that as well, right? Not like you just don't want to answer. No, you ask the question, you are the help, which you don't want to answer. And then you have a completely honest, transparent conversation. But you can do it with yourself as well. Ask questions which you always are running away.
Yes.
Challenge yourself. Oh, you just triggered the big topic.
That is a big topic. The questions is a very big topic. And another, just to put another spin on it, Olga, which is also great, going back to the dating scenario that you just used, is when you're on a first date with somebody, they can literally throw any question at you, and even if it's a tough one, and you kind of taken aback a bit, you're eager to answer because it's exciting, it's fun, it's a new person. So even those questions that you don't really want to be asked, when you ask it of each other or you ask it of yourself, it can be fun. See it as fun. It's a discovery. And so what seems scary can actually be amazing. Not can be, it always is. It always is. Yes, it can be uncomfortable. Yes, it can be shocking. I mean, sometimes I ask myself questions and the answer that comes is like, holy moly, really? Can that be? And I can be a bit shocked. But then I always end up giggling because it's like, I'm so glad I saw that. Because if I didn't see that, I would still be sort of going that same difficult road. And now my road is easier because I know myself better. So, yeah, there's questions that seem really tough and that you think you don't want to answer. You might just like what happens after you answer that tough question.
Yeah. Oh, love that. Absolutely love that. We actually have Tanya, our darling Tanya, fellow coach as well, who is watching us today. She says, hello, beautiful to see you both together again. Love you both. Oh, Tanya, I love you back.
Hello, Tanya.
Yeah, and Tanya says, absolutely agree. There is so much power in digging in, posing and asking tough questions to take you to the next level. Thank you, Diana Grant. It's very powerful. It really is very, very powerful. Well, Diana, it was, I must say, a very, very valuable session for many people today because self-love is a big topic. It's quite loud topic in the world right now, which people a lot about, but very rarely actually it gets practiced. So I'm very excited to announce that actually we will be going live every first Wednesday of the month at 1 p.m. UK time for around about half an hour for you just to join us during your lunch break or maybe your commute or maybe whatever else it is. Join us and learn about self-love because we are dedicating our time so you can level up. Thank you, Diana. Thank you.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you. Could you please share how people can get in touch with you? I was showing you the website just at the bottom of the video, but could you please share how could you help people and how and why they should be getting in touch with you?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Olga. Yes, my website is the easiest way to get hold of me. All my contact details are on there. And there I am offering quite a few programs. So from short programs where you can just sign up and do it yourself, and it's all online, it's all on the website, to bigger programs that run for a little bit longer and include one-on-one coaching with me, group sessions with people who are in a very like-minded, like-spirited space doing the same program as you. So there are those programs. There is one-to-one coaching as well, which is wonderful. And I've also recently opened myself up to speaking events, which is quite exciting. So I'm looking forward to doing more of that. But all of that is on the website. So come and find me at dianagrant.com. It's really easy. It's my name. And just a little reminder as a takeaway from today is get quiet and give yourself time. You deserve it. And get to know yourself, because that's where self-love really starts. And thank you, Olga. Thank you so much. I absolutely love being on the Olga Show. And I really look forward to the first Wednesday of every month where we can just share more and more about this topic. As we grow as well, we can just share that with everybody who joins us. So thank you.
Absolutely. Well, Dan, it was my delight and my pleasure to have you on my show. And I'm delighted and I'm very excited. And I'm looking forward to more self-love dose on a monthly basis. As I said, first week of every month on Wednesdays, 1 p.m. UK time. It should be, I think, 8 a.m. EST time, Toronto time. So join us. Please make sure you share this video with people whom you really love, right? Some people need to hear this message today. They might go through tough times. They might doubt themselves. They really, some of them need this time for themselves and they feel guilty for taking that. But by listening to this video, they will definitely learn something new. So share the love. Please help us to spread the word about self-love. And thank you, Diana, for joining me today. It was my pleasure and my delight. And I'm so looking forward to our next episode next month, first week of June.
Me too. Thank you, Olga. Thanks for having me.
And thank you all for being here with us. If you have any questions, please make sure you contact Diana. You also can reach out to me, and then we will get definitely back to you. What we also can do, if you send us your questions, next time we can start answering your questions, and then we can go into the self-love topic. But yes, we are definitely here to support you and to guide you through self-love journey. See you next time, first Wednesday of June, 1 p.m. UK time, here live. Take care. Mwah.